limited or expanded by the advantages that the police have now. No fingerprints, nothing but natural observation and knowledge of human nature to find a way through a labyrinth then.
Yes, that's right.
And that's what he uses.
And as far as you're concerned, of course, it means that you don't have to bone up on all the modern techniques.
That's right. I don't. I may have to bone up on history, but that's more fun.
But is it difficult, do you think, for people to identify with characters in the 12th century?
Judging by the letters that I'm getting from all over the world, they find it very easy. I suppose I start from the premise that human nature is now as it always has been, or very much the same as it always has been, that there's a great deal of love and a great deal of cruelty and a great deal of hate, but still people haven't changed so very much.
There are practical problems, though, aren't there? Like names. I mean, I have still not got Brother Cadfael into my head, to be honest. And when you see it on the page, it's an unfamiliar name, isn't it?
It's almost unique, I think, because I've met it only in one reference, and that is, it's another name for a Welsh saint called Cadog. And the funny story is that Cadog was born and taken to his christening and given the name of Cadfael. But from then on, in all the lives of him, he's referred to as Cadog. So I thought, well, a Welsh name which somebody has discarded and nobody else has ever used is just what I need for a unique character.
Oh, so it's not a well-known name of the time at all?
No.
Yes. Another thing where you have to be careful about is it's sort of medieval language, isn't it? Because you could easily go over the top and it would become more or less unintelligible to people. But you've got to sort of steer the...
You've got to steer a middle course.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Because it's not a bit of use being absolutely accurate and writing in Anglo-Saxon. It wouldn't reach anybody.
Yeah. So the thrillers generally are written by Ellis Peters.
Yes.
What is Edith Pargeter writing at the moment?
Well, I began with perfectly straight modern novels a long, long time ago, I may say. But very soon I got on to historical writing. That was the 13th century ones. And there are quite a number sprinkled around among my thrillers since then.
Have you always been a professional writer, all your working life?
It was always my ambition, but I spent 7 years working as a chemist's assistant at a time when chemists and their dispensers made everything from tablets, pills, bottles of medicine, the lot. So I've had some experience in that department.
20th century pills and potions and 12th century herbalism as well. Oh, so then you were in the war, I know.
I was a Wren, yes.
In the war. But since the war, you've managed to make a living as a full-time writer?
Yes, I have, yes.
That's tremendous.
Which is very lucky. I know it's quite unusual, but I was very fortunate.
Oh. Now, one thing I do know is that Edith Pargeter also translates books from and into Czech.
Not into.
Not into?
No.
Oh, just
that I should find impossible. You have to know your own language very well to translate from another language into it, of course. But you'd have to know Czech very much better than I know it to translate into it. But I haven't done any now for quite a long time. I've done both poetry and prose.
Have you? How did you get involved with that?
Well, I've been connected with Czechoslovakia ever since the war, and meeting Czech serving men, you know, during the war. Everyone who was in uniform then was a brother or a sister. And after the war, very soon, my brother and I went to an international summer school, which was held about 30 kilometers from Prague. And as they didn't expect us to speak Czech, all the Czech students who joined us, of course, had English. So we were able to make about 20 Czech friends in one fell swoop. And the closest of them I've been in connection with ever since. When they can't come to me, I go to them.
Do you go regularly?
But this year? Oh, every year.
Every year?
Because for years, you see, they couldn't come to me. But this year, 2 of them are coming over in May.
Are they?
I'm glad to say.
Yes, what is the situation?
Sign.
Presumably the 4 years we were talking about were the sort of Prague Spring years. Well, after the Prague Spring, when in fact the clampdown came on Czechoslovakia. How are things in the country at the moment?
I have a feeling that Glasnost is just finding a small footing there now. Because of this, it seems to be easier to get an exit visa and come out than it has been for, well, ever since 68. So I'm hoping that things are going to melt quite a lot.
You've actually been awarded, isn't I right, the Gold Medal of the Writers' Union?
Not the Writers' Union, it's the Czechoslovak Society for Foreign Relations. That was for translations. I began translating simply because when visiting friends there, I saw the same books on all their shelves, the classics, 19th century mostly, which everyone had, and of course I was just curious what they could be like. And as no translations existed, I started fumbling my way through translations for myself, for my own pleasure.
Amazing. How long did it take you to become really familiar with the language?
I doubt if I've ever been really familiar with it.
Well, familiar enough, obviously.
But
yes.
I've translated for a number of years, yes, both prose and poetry, which I like doing.
So what are you working on now? Is there another Brother Cadfael story brewing away somewhere?
Not yet, because, I have one in hand, of course.
Oh,
Since the one about which we're speaking, yes, I finished one very recently. So that will probably be for early next year, I should think.
When you finish one, do you sort of move on to the next one?
Well, I like to begin thinking about it straight away, yes.
Oh, you don't have a sort of notebook of plot outlines or plot
sometimes I've got
thoughts?
the next idea in my mind, but I haven't at the moment.
Am I right that he's actually coming to television, all being well?
I hope so, and I really think this time it will come off. But it's possible that shooting may start on a pilot this year. I hope it will.
Who's doing that?
It's a private company, an independent company, which has been formed for the purpose, called Cadfael Productions Limited. But they are now in touch with a Canadian company also, and with the Czechoslovak film industry. So we may be using Czech facilities for some of the shooting. I hope so.
Is he known in Czechoslovakia, then? Brother
Cadfael?
Yes.
Not yet. Well, I think probably to some private readers who have sort of poached copies from somewhere, he may be. But he's not been translated into Czech, no.
But do you have
I doubt it if he could.
Do you have your actor for Brother Cadfael all picked out?
No, I have a quite open mind. I would welcome a suggestion.
Yes. Well, I'm sure you'll get many, my word, if he takes off.
Some,
yes, I'm sure you
yes.
have. But what about the scripts? Would you do them yourself?
No, 2 scripts are already made. One by Keith Williams, who is the producer, who will be the producer of Cadfael Productions, and one by Elaine Morgan.
Really? Oh,
yes,
wow.
indeed, and I'm very much hoping she'll be able to do some of the others.
So you're happy with the adaptation?
I'm very. Those 2 scripts are absolutely true and fine. If it goes as well as that, I shall be very happy.
You've kept an eye on that, really, from the early times, have you?
Well, they emerged like that. Both of them obviously liked the books they were adapting.
Good. Well,
that's the best thing.
May he have a long life. And the Confessions of Brother, now, would you pronounce? Halloween is the current one.
Yes.
And is that again a strange name, or is that a well-known Halloween? Is that a sort of?
It's cheating a little bit. I don't know whether you know the play by a Belgian playwright, probably from early this century, called Messiah Halloween.
No.
By Michel de Gelderode. Well, Halloween actually is an international rather folk horror story, not at all a character like this one, who charmed, he was more or less a sort of witch's son with supernatural powers, and he had a wonderful voice, and he could lure young women to him by singing, and he always went with aiming at one particular girl and would call her out with his voice. And in the play, he kills them when he's finished with them. I think in a milder fairy version, they were sort of charmed into stone, and then somebody comes along and rescues them all afterwards. But in Michel de Gelderode's play, I'm afraid it...
So you pitched the name, if not the character.
That's right, yes. Totally different character.
Well, Edith, thank you very much.
It's a nice name.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this evening and telling us about Brother Cadfael.
Thank you.
A splendid character he is, too. Yes, Edith Pargeter, or Ellis Peters, which is her pseudonym, and the 15th in the sequence of Brother Cadfael series, a medieval whodunit called The Confessions of Brother Halliwyn, is published by Headline.